when was the first time you heard about The Punisher?
I'd been directing my first film, Dead Heat, and New World Pictures was very high on what I was doing at the time. So they offered me a 3-picture deal, which I took. And then they had this property, The Punisher, that they wanted me to consider to direct. And initially, I turned it down. I just wasn't sure about it. I didn't know the comic book, although I had been a reader of Marvel comics. Anyway, they went with another director, but he fell out. They came back to me. And Robert Mark Kamen, who was the producer on the picture, who was also a really well-known screenwriter who created The Karate Kid, really wanted me to do the picture. So he promised me that he would come in and do some rewriting on the picture. And we worked together to make it palatable creatively. And so I agreed to do it. And we started looking at locations. So at this point, I had read a whole bunch of Punisher comics. For the first appearance of the Punisher with Daredevil. It's very dark material.
What are the fondest memories that you have of this this project, this shooting of the Punisher?
Well, I have fond memories of working with Norma Morriso, who was our costume designer and our production designer as well. She had been, we made the film in Australia.
Yes.
In fact, that was the only way we could have made it, because New World had a company, New World Australia, that was set up that had raised a lot of money to make movies. And they hadn't really spent this money. And they had to spend it for tax reasons. They had to make a movie. So we were sent off to Sydney, Australia to scout locations and to scout talent. Because if you do a film in another country, of course, you've got to use actors from that talent pool, or a lot of them. So we wanted to make sure we could get actors that could fill these parts playing North Americans and do it convincingly. And we found great locations and we found great crew people. And the picture went into pre-production pretty quickly. So working with the Australian crews was a really great experience for me, because they really did display a pioneering attitude. They were about getting the work done. It was very exciting. And I loved working with Norma.
In retrospect, what were the biggest challenges of this movie, of making The Punisher?
Well, one challenge was that it took place in North America, at a nondescript city, which we used Seattle as a prototype. But it was shot in Australia, where the steering wheel is on the other side of cars. We didn't have cars that would look like American cars. We had to import them. The actors had to speak with American accents. Some did it more successfully than others. Another challenge on the movie was the Punisher is kind of a downbeat character. He's kind of a living dead man, avenging his family's death. And makes him kind of an anti-hero that's hard to empathize with beyond a certain point.
I must tell you that I was a kid when you released the Punisher, and I was a big fan of the character, and this movie was extremely important to me. Extremely important. I had I was a film buff, and I was always on the video store, on the local video store. I had an agreement with the video store owner that I would pick like 7 or 8 orders of VHS cassettes that were coming, just in order to be the first one to have the Punisher VHS with me. And I absolutely love the movie, and in my opinion, I am a comic book fan. It's still the best on-screen version. There are many sequences that become like engraved in the memory. The subterranean flow of the Punisher living underneath the earth, and with all that atmosphere. I think that the atmosphere of the film is very well worked with. But nowadays it's much more evident with, it seems to me, with the internet, to see some discrepancies that exist between the critics' reaction and the fans' reaction. You have lots of films today that, if you go to sites like Rotten Tomatoes or sites like that, you'll see that the opinion of the critics and the opinion of the public is completely opposed. And I know that the Punisher had some harsh reviews, but how do you feel in retrospect that it has become a cult movie, and that is still talked about, and it's a movie that is respected and that is being known by new generations and discussed by new generations? How do you feel when you see the space that the movie conquered?
Well, I feel very positive about it. I'm gratified that it found an audience. You know, it was, at the time, in many markets, it didn't play in the cinema. In the United States, it was sold off to a direct-to-video company. So there was no theatrical run. That was heartbreaking to me and to people who worked on the film. But I had to accept it. You know, there was very little vindication for it. So to have people caring about it at this stage, and I know a lot of DVD companies have come out with Blu-ray editions internationally.
Yes.
Director's commentary track is on there. I mean, there's a fan base for the movie, which is gratifying. You know, when you make something, it's kind of hard. When I look at the film, I can't watch it objectively because I see the behind-the-scenes aspects of it as well. I know what I felt like on the day that I shot that scene, things like that. But I like the film a lot. I mean, in all honesty, I wish we had retained the skull on the T-shirt. That turned a lot of people off that we didn't have that. And there was a way to have done it elegantly, but we didn't do it.